Well, how do you think I got so thin? I've been taking it for years, man.
You've been on Ozempic?
I've been doing it for years.
I have too. In this podcast, we're going to tell you how Ozempic changed our lives.
Oh!
No, we're really
Ozempic.
We're here to talk about Ozempic because it's so popular. I was watching a podcast on it online and
everybody's doing it.
And I was like, I asked you about it and I'm like, do you have any thoughts? And you said, oh boy, do I.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about this on the Be Well Now podcast. Ozempic, the dangers, the side effects. I'm guessing it's not something that you're super excited about because we're being sarcastic.
Yeah. Oh, I'm really excited to be able to talk about Ozempic. I think it's a wonderful drug that's entered the marketplace. It's given us more opportunity to talk about our own vulnerabilities.
All right.
And marketers in general are very good at manipulating and playing on vulnerabilities. So this whole marketing craze is like, what's the vulnerability within the U.S. public right now? Obesity. So if we can find a quick fix for obesity, which a lot of people are looking for, a quick fix for obesity, how wonderful would that be? It actually sounds really good. And so it plays on people's vulnerability. There's all sorts of people have dealt with some discrimination, very likely because of weight. They've dealt with society issues or even friend group issues, right? Maybe even relationship concerns and issues have been brought up. And it's a very sensitive topic for a lot of people who really would like to have resolution to a condition that they feel there is no answer to and has been no answer to for them, they felt like in their life.
I think it's a really good point.
Yeah.
And so if something comes along that provides this, I mean, people have smoked cigarettes to lose weight, right? And it's like, I think if you don't like how you look, there's a acceptance of side effects to get a result in terms of weight loss.
Absolutely. Everything has a risk benefit analysis, right?
So anyway, you have this wildly popular drug, Ozempic, with very real side effects. I wonder, what should people know about this? Because in this podcast I was listening to, they're saying considering prescribing this to like 5-year-olds.
Yes. Oh, for sure they are. For sure they are. Because the more that they can prescribe it to as wide and vast a population as possible, the more money that you can glean from it, ultimately.
Is that the equation with the pharmaceuticals company?
Well, it's the equation with it's the equation for a industry or for a company in general that's functioning. They want to improve their bottom line, and they ultimately want to be as successful as possible in the U.S. economy. It is about market share, and it's about profits, right? And so to suggest in some way that it's not about those things in some way, I think is disingenuous. So we have to acknowledge that that's a part of the equation. But at the same time, I heal people. I work with people on medical conditions, and I charge them money for that. And so I'm not standing here as like the bastion of hope per se, but I recognize that is the way that we function. There has to be an exchange, yes, right, for a healing or for some sort of service that's offered. But what we would hope ideally is that the providers of the service are inherently connected to providing and elevating the value of the service offered or the product offered far more than they are even connected to just the profit margin itself. Oftentimes, the value of the product is equated to the profits generated. And I don't think that that's the case. More often than not, profits generated are really more likely equated to marketing.
I do think it's a valuable discussion. I do also want to talk about we can talk about the ethics of the pharmaceutical industry and
for sure
capitalism. And I think it's important, but Ozempic helps you lose weight and there's no side effects?
Ozempic absolutely helps you lose weight. And I think it's important because you mentioned kids. There's no side effects. That's what was said.
I know.
It's been said for a long time. But kids have been developing and becoming even more obese and having more weight gain issues. Insulin and pancreas related issues. Type 1 diabetes has become a real problem in the United States. What's that?
How young are the kids with type 1 diabetes?
Oh, we have kids as young as 5, 6. I mean,
5 or 6?
Yeah, early childhood. Kids are being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune. So oftentimes even children are born with, or very, very early on in their life, they're born with this pancreas essentially that develops an autoimmune type of condition. And that autoimmune condition elicits inflammation in the pancreas, which enlarges and swells, and then it disrupts its ability to regulate insulin. And insulin is what regulates blood sugar. Okay, and blood sugar can influence in a significant way weight gain in the body. And also, the United States population struggles with a variety of different things that are, I would say, lifestyle-related illnesses that are related to insulin or insulin resistance. Okay, so insulin resistance is an issue that is developed by people that they've secreted insulin in significantly larger amounts. They've overstimulated the cells, and the cells become inflamed and irritated because they've been stimulated so many times. And then they essentially become resistant to insulin. So then there's low energy, but no weight reduction, right? So the metabolic capacity of the body begins to become very, very deficient and to reduce. So it's important as well to recognize that in the United States, we've developed this sedentary lifestyle that has become incumbent upon us, partially because of the technological advancements that have allowed us to do that, allowed us to sit behind a computer all day long at a desk, exerting almost zero effort physically whatsoever, almost not even utilizing a muscle. And the major contributor to weight, to insulin and the utilization of sugar in the body, the major metabolic organ of our bodies, our muscle. And so it's what needs glucagon. It's what needs the sugars in an immediate supply is the muscle. So if muscle is at risk, or if muscle is not being activated and utilized, then we are in a cascade essentially of developing some sort of obesity, either type 2 diabetes, which also has obesity as a concern and issue, or we're developing type 1 diabetes. Okay, so that's our American society. So it's sedentary, but also now we're in a area or a time of convenience where our food can be microwaved, which reduces the vitamin content and the nutrient density of it as well. Because of superheating it, you unravel and unwind essentially vitamins and minerals. And so it becomes this soup or this mess of a product when you put it in a microwave, right? So it's not really good for our health, a microwave. However, it's very convenient, and you can heat things up very quickly. We also have highly processed foods that have longer shelf lives because of different preservatives and additives and dyes and flavorings that have been added to them that are really more products than they are similar to food that grows from the ground. So this is really, I would say, the issue that we deal with as a public that has brought upon us this obesity epidemic.
So as in, it's not a lack of Ozempic that is causing obesity.
Exactly.
It's not a lack of Prozac that might be causing someone's depression.
It's a convenience lifestyle.
So there are reasons.
Condition.
When the systems biology, the way that you look at health, what's causing the thing? Let's not just address the thing. Let's figure out what's causing it. This is the conversation around why we have obesity. What would need to change ideally?
Right. So it's like, go back to what happened over, you watch movies and you see videos and pictures of public squares and things like that in the 60s and 50s, and there are almost no obese people, right? And you look at like what was happening, what was going on with our diet, what were the foods that we were consuming, and there were almost no processed foods. It was almost everything was like a farmer's market, made at home, those type of meals and things. Well, now majority of us eat out. We eat highly processed foods. We drink highly processed sugary drinks in large amounts. We rarely drink water, right? In fact, I frequently will hear the phrase, I don't like water. I don't like the taste of water. I hear people say that, and I am aghast, right? Water is the living source of everything, of our life, of our cells. And we have a condition or a behavior that we've been brought upon us that we don't even like it at this point. So yes, we have a lot that we need to change within ourselves. And so then we bring on the stage this Ozempic, right?
Right, which is what the podcast is about.
And it's so easy to say, wow, this is a quick thing. It can adjust the way that I consume food or my desires or my cravings.
What does it do?
So it's what is called a glucagon. It's a GLP-1 agonist, okay, which is a glucagon-like peptide. So peptides. And so glucagon is what stores in the muscles. Glucagon is there for ready access, for energy, for us to be able to utilize and burn up all of that so we have the strength that we need. And so glucagon's stored in the muscles, and it is there for us to be able to have a quick access and of energy, right? And so because it stores in the muscles, we're able to do a significant amount of things.
But real quick, I want to know.
GLP-1, essentially what it will do when we consume it, okay, what it will do is it will slow your digestion. It slows the metabolism. It slows that capacity even within your muscles. It begins to decrease the ability of your muscles to perform its metabolic capacity, which then leads to like muscle wasting. But it also leads to a decrease in the capacity of the muscles, the smooth muscles of the intestines to contract and to move the stool through your body.
But what does it make me feel? You're explaining about, I don't know.
So your cravings.
It makes me less hungry?
So it's going to reduce cravings.
Okay.
Which is going to lead to less hunger sensations.
So I have less hunger, and then the explanation is what you said.
Right. Well,
that's
what happens, which reduces your hunger and your cravings.
So it's slowing down my digestion?
Your metabolic capacity, slowing down your digestion. And so because it's slowing down your digestion, the neurological signals that are sent back to the brain is that we still have food in this part of the intestines. We can't put more in yet, right? We still have food in the stomach. We can't have more yet. And so because it slows that capacity of your body to actually move things through your digestive tract, then your body gets a signal back that says, don't give us more. And so it decreases the ability or the signaling that your body says that you need more nutrients.
Okay.
But the reason your body was telling you and giving you signals that you needed more nutrients is because you're eating food that doesn't have any nutrients, right? You're eating processed foods and mineral and vitamin depleted foods that are usually coming in a package, and not eating foods out of the ground and out of the earth that are nutrient rich and nutrient dense. So it's the nutrients and it's the vitamins and the minerals and that people are lacking, right? That's where they're lacking. That's where they're deficient. And so their brain continues to have a signal saying, hey, we don't have the nutrients that we need, okay? And then they eat more and they eat more and they eat more trying to get it, but their body is continuing to push all those foods through. Now, the other interesting thing is about Ozempic, because it has that effect on your digestive tract, people often have reported that they will either end up with severe or significant constipation, okay, or they end up with overbearing diarrhea, right? Whoa. So they'll have bouts where it builds and builds and builds. So most of your diarrhea, your loose stools in general, is constipation based. A lot of people don't realize this. Generally constipation at large and not really diarrhea. It's just that by the time it finally moves its way through, it's on the way out in a really significant way. So it builds up and it builds up and it builds up, and it's constipation. And then it just finally gets squeezed and moved out, and it's been in there so long that the body says, okay, we have to get rid of this, and it ends up as diarrhea. So that's something that people have reported. That's one, you could say, side effect of it. Now, our patients are smart and intelligent people, and they may look at this and listen to what we're saying about semaglutide and Ozempic and say, it doesn't sound like a good idea to slow your digestion down.
Because nausea, I think, is another side effect. And
yeah,
what are some of the other?
Can we go over the list of side effects?
Yeah,
because, I mean, at the end of the commercial, it usually goes through the list of side effects. So I
think they've started, first it was no side effects. Now they've started acknowledging some of these side effects.
Correct. And it's the whole ethics. That's kind of what we started at the beginning. It's unfortunate that we would say that there's no side effects to any drug, to any medication, right? There are side effects. There's always something.
Well, I heard Ozempic is also very expensive. So it's like, yes. I heard $1,300 to $1,700 a month. Your insurance probably isn't going to cover it. And you have to be on it forever, right? Because once you stop taking it. Once you get into taking Ozempic, absolutely. It's something that you need to continue doing because it decreases the metabolism in a significant way. So then the moment you stop, then you're going to rebound in a very significant way. So getting off of Ozempic is a very challenging process for people. And it needs to be done with a very skillful practitioner. And you need to make sure that if you're going to be getting off of Ozempic, that you're using a significant amount of nutrient-dense foods and that you're using a lot of antioxidants and proanthocyanidins and all these things that are going to really help your body to reduce inflammation, right? Reduce inflammation and support the metabolic capacity that is still there and remaining. I'm a holistic doctor. I believe that we can heal. I believe that we can recover. I believe that our body can regenerate. I think that's the hope. The hope for all of our patients, even if you've decided to take Ozempic, is that we can recover, right? And it very well may be someone whose weight is completely out of their feeling to be completely out of their control. Ozempic actually may be a strategy for them to get control of their weight in a very short duration, as long as they've already begun to establish the patterns of eating and exercising and getting appropriate sunlight and being outdoors that they've needed to, that are going to carry them long term. Because Ozempic is not a long-term strategy. Well,
it's like handcuffs.
Dave Ramsey talks about, how to pay off debt, and it's not the high interest rate stuff first. It's smallest to largest. And he says building that snowball. He's like, it's not a math problem. It's a behavior habit problem, right? And
exactly. That's the long-term strategy.
The art of this whole thing is like, if you can get a small win and then a bigger win, right? Maybe you build some momentum with Ozempic. You start to develop some of the other ancillary, but not ancillary, like quite foundational things that are important to weight loss.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people are just going to try to take this as like a light switch on off.
Oh yeah. It's like, hey, I'll just go do Ozempic. And, basically people and my practitioner and the commercials and people say there's very, very little to any side effects at all to it. Right. And it's like, well, let's talk about the side effects. Nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, constipation, as we mentioned, abdominal pain, headaches, fatigue, indigestion, heartburn, dizziness, abdominal distension, belching, hypoglycemia, low blood sugar in people with type 2 diabetes, flatulence, gastroenteritis. And this is really interesting because a lot of people who are taking or choose to take Ozempic probably already have gut-related disorders as it is. And that's part of the contribution to their weight gain, right? Is that they need to get their gut health in order. But now this is something that you take that's going to cause inflammation in your gastrointestinal system or in your gut and in your intestines. Why would you want additional and more inflammation in your gut? Well, that's one of the things that it can cause. Also GERD or gastroesophageal reflux disease, right? So it can cause reflux. Well, if you have food sitting in your stomach and not moving, at some point, you're going to be developing reflux because it's going to start going backward. In Chinese medicine, the idea is that with reflux, it's like you have this energy that moves in a reversion. It's a reversion of energy. It moves up rather than down. And so we want the peristalsis and the contractions of the muscles to all be moving down and through and to help the body eliminate. And as it's moving through, it should be taking up nutrients and receiving what it should, right? And the body can all function and work in a very harmonious way. But when the body's intentionally slowed, that's when problems can begin. So we have GERD, and it can also cause pancreatitis. Well, pancreatitis.
That doesn't sound good.
Well, we talked about this earlier in the show. Pancreatitis is where your beta cells are. This is what helps you to secrete and develop insulin, which helps you to process and metabolize sugar. Well, if you begin to compromise your ability to process and metabolize sugar, your cholesterol is going to become a problem, and triglycerides become a problem. Then we start having concerns for cardiovascular related conditions, right? So this is a real problem where almost now what we've started talking about is the problem that it was hoping to solve, it's actually potentially causing, right? That's a real concern, because pancreatitis, inflammation in the pancreas, especially if it's long-term, we would call that autoimmune pancreas. An autoimmune pancreas, as we talked about before, is diabetes type 1. Type 1 diabetes is autoimmune pancreatitis or autoimmune pancreas. Okay, so here we all of a sudden have gone around full circle to the drug that we want to solve a problem, causing the problems it was meant to solve. So gastroparesis and also bowel obstructions, as we talked about before as well. One last thing is there's a box warning. The FDA has a box warning on semaglutide for thyroid C-cell tumors. So it has the potential. Now, everything that I've read, everything that I have been able to glean and pull from, manufacturers and also from the companies themselves, is that there has been no demonstration throughout the public that this is a known cause for thyroid cancer development, but it is something that the FDA felt like was significant enoughly found in their trials that they needed to have a box warning for it to say, hey, this has the potential for developing thyroid carcinomas in humans.
So plenty of side effects.
Yeah, there's enough. I wasn't able to do it quite as quickly as they do on the commercials. Maybe I need to work on my...
You could work on that.
Yeah,
you could work on that.
Ability to...
So the reality is there's probably a rare circumstance where you would encourage someone to try Ozempic.
I think
but it's not never.
Yeah.
Or it's if they decide, hey, I'm hell-bent on doing this, doc, would you still support me?
Then I'll support them.
Yeah.
I'll support. My objective is to be your coach and your advisor and to say, hey, what now? What now? Right? We're going to make all sorts of decisions in life. We're going to do things, but it's not about like, oh man, I wish I never would have done that. Oh, I regret this. It's like, what? Why live in regret? Why live in regret? That's not a good state to be in. I don't believe in that state. Like, make a choice, make a decision. That's fine. Make it with the best information that you have at the time. And given this circumstance and situation, we're not given a lot of information as the public about things until several years, oftentimes after a drug has come out. So what information do they have to go on? People are already on the Ozempic and experiencing issues and problems with it that are because of the medication and haven't even known that that's why it was.
They probably didn't know all this.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they're listening right now.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, the audience is so huge.
Because it's like the leading podcast.
It's like once we speak, the industry changes.
Exactly.
Markets shift after these podcasts
This is a seismic shift about to occur.
Hey, give me some weight loss tips. We got a few minutes left.
I think that's a great idea. So let's talk about some basic things that you can begin to implement into your life.
Like, what do you tell patients when they come in? They're like, Doc, I want to lose some weight.
Well, the first thing I really tell patients is I prefer weight not to be the issue. It is, because weight is what bothers people. It's the apparent, it's what's seen, right? And so that becomes the major issue is, how do you take this weight off? Well, ideally, the quick way to take the weight off is Ozempic or, liposuction, right? But neither of those are ideal, truly.
Yeah, you said ideally.
I shouldn't say ideally, right? But it's like quickly. Those are the quickest ways to do it, right? But we're not looking for necessarily the quickest answer. We're looking for what is the answer? What are the strategies that I can begin to implement in my life? And so it's really about becoming healthy, okay? It's really about checking your metabolic health overall, making sure your muscles have the capacity to receive glucagon, to use the sugars, to use up the sugars that you're consuming, being active, exercising. You don't have to over-exercise as some people do, but make sure you're getting regular exercise and daily exercise. If you're in the situation where you sit behind a desk and you work behind a computer, you're there all day long, you do need to be getting some form of exercise every single day.
I know there's, VO2 max and zone blah, blah, blah cardio, but just don't sleep on the power of a walk.
Yeah, just go.
Just moving. I never feel worse after a walk.
And breathing. You'd be surprised just how breathing, like working on breath work, breathing in deeply through your nose, controlling your heart rate that way, stabilizing the autonomic nervous system, reducing the likelihood that cortisol and stress levels are going to be pushing sugar and dumping it into your blood. Just breathing can have a significant impact on weight regulation as well. Okay? So make sure that you're breathing properly throughout the day, especially if you are sitting at a desk. You eating foods with specific flavors. Okay? In Chinese medicine, there are flavors to food. Bitter, they're sour. These bitter and sour foods are kind of more downward draining and eliminating. They help the body to detoxify and clear things. Well, every time you squeeze a muscle and you use a muscle, it's like clearance. It's like detoxification, turning things over, getting rid of the old and bringing in new, allowing for new nutrients. And so you need this process of use and elimination, and that needs to be occurring. And foods can help you with that, okay? Foods that, like one herb that I like to use a lot, it's actually called shansa, which is Fructus crotegi, which you don't have to know anything about. But we use that a lot for cholesterol, and it's actually very beneficial for blood sugar also. Berberine is another one. If you're trying to control your blood sugar, you can utilize berberine. In fact, a lot of people are using berberine in the place of Ozempic because it helps with regulating blood sugar so well. And it's an anti-diabetic herb. It's anti-diabetic herb. Just like we would look at Ozempic, or Wegovy would be more the brand that would be focused on weight. Ozempic would be more focused on the diabetes aspect of it. But they're the same product, essentially, semaglutide. So those are really important things for us to consider as well. There's a fruit called bitter melon.
Okay.
It's an Asian fruit. It looks like a kind of a spiny or a wrinkly cucumber. And that can be really beneficial as well. I also like apple cider vinegar. Some people have maybe even tried apple cider vinegar, taking a little bit of apple cider vinegar and realized just taking a little bit every morning, a teaspoon every morning, they start losing weight, right? So there are things that you can begin to implement into your diet, simple things, simple changes that you can begin to make in your life that are going to help affect weight loss. Fruits like lemon, orange, kiwi, those are sour foods, right? Apple cider vinegar is also sour, and so it helps with benefiting weight loss. Ear acupuncture. So there are auricular points that help with the neurological aspect of cravings. And so it's a neurological signal that's sent from the stomach and from the intestines to the brain. There's ghrelin, there's a variety of different substances in there. And the signal sent to the brain that says we need to consume more. So if we can have an impact at the brain level neurologically, we can do that using auricular acupuncture where we put these needles in the ear and we can have an impact on cravings. Okay. A variety of different Chinese medicine herbs that we implement here at the office can be beneficial for you. I would say everybody should get a metabolic panel. They should look at their overall health, check your blood, check your thyroid, check your lipid panel, see where...
I think it's an investment, but...
It is.
Yeah, reach out to Dr. Dummar because Community Health and Wellness Online, because it's worth it, right? It's worth it.
100%. It's an investment in your health.
Yeah.
And we're thinking long term. We're not just thinking short term, but you do have short term benefits from it as well. But the greater benefits are going to come as you continue to invest in the process and invest in yourself over and over again. And then the last suggestion I'd say is exercise. Sunlight, movement, breath work, activity, doing things that you love, finding an activity that you really enjoy. something that you're working behind a desk or a computer for, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to get out there. I'm going to improve on this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make my turns better. It could be skiing. It could be snowshoeing in the winter. Could be snowmobiling even. You can exert effort, believe it or not, even doing snowmobiling, right? But getting outside, doing something that is active, that uses the muscle, that exhausts the glucagon, that initiates the metabolic capacity of the body, that gets the weight to begin the process of reducing, and pulling all of the garbage as much as possible, as much as you can. Like, be disciplined. Pull the crap out of your diet. Like, be respectful of yourself. And said another way, why would you want to continue disrespecting yourself by putting that garbage into your body? All those processed foods, there's no nutrient density. There's no substantive ability of that food to really provide what you need long term. Treat yourself like a high-end athlete. Treat yourself like a high-end sports car, right? Eat the very best food, nutrient dense, as close to farm to table as you can, and watch the pounds melt away.
Be well now, everybody.
Be well now.
That was good.
You think so?
Namaste.
Namaste, everyone.
What do you think, folks?
Let us know in the comments right here. Click that button, that like button, right? I think it's right there.
If you made it
right
this
there.
far, we are so grateful for your time. And
thank you for subscribing.
Almost 70 episodes.
Share us with a friend.
And more to come. See you guys.
Ciao.